of those, and one is enough.
Not be on your ass.
Hmm?
They cannot be on your ass. The one
Yes,
that-
they can.
I'd like to call to order this special meeting of the Glendora City Council. We welcome those who are joining us via Zoom. This is a hybrid meeting. Today, all of our members are present, and we are meeting today for one item of business, and that is to adopt resolution declaring intent to terminate participation from the CalPERS medical plans for certain Glendora labor groups. And with that, I would like to invite anyone who would like to make any public comment on this, either any of those in person or those who are joining us via Zoom. If you are joining us via Zoom and wish to make a comment, I invite you to use the raise hand icon. Do we have anyone that submitted a public comment card or anyone raising their hand?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, we've received no public comments. To give public comments, no raised hand icons, and no emails via the public comment email.
Thank you. Seeing none, then I will close public comment and bring it back to our city manager who will present the item for us, Mr. Raymond.
Oh, I believe we have a hand raised. It says, ask me, I believe that may be Luis that's on there.
Oh.
If he would like to speak,
I apologize. I don't see a raised hand,
that
but
just popped up on my screen right now.
it did. Okay.
Okay, then we will go back to public comment and recognize our speaker.
Luis, are you there?
I am, yes.
Yes, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Let me see if I can get that fixed. There we go. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, so good morning. Good morning, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Luis Schmidt. I'm the business representative with AFSCME Local 3915. So unfortunately, our president, Kelly Montes, couldn't be here this morning to join us. She's a dispatcher in the police department and she wanted to be here today, but because of the staffing levels in PD and with dispatch, she can't join us today. But I wanted to give you some insight on the decision from our membership. As you know, this issue came up 2 years ago. And back then, 2 years ago, our members were not in support of making that change. And then This time around, the issue came up again, and we met with the city, we discussed it. But once again, I think what we're seeing here is that the members who were here 2 years ago, the majority of them are still here. And most of them still felt that the change was not in their favor. We don't, we support the other groups who made the decision to try this new avenue. We wish them the best. But at this time, our membership, did look at did take the time to review the information. And we don't doubt that there's going to be savings in that. We don't. As a democratic union, that's how we run. And, we gave our members the information. We had several meetings with them. And then ultimately our membership took a vote twice and still decided that it was best for them to stay in. Now, there were a few members who spoke, who were in favor of leaving. But at the end of the day, the way that we function as a union is the majority are going to rule. And by a vote of 72%, our membership voted to stay with the current CalPERS Medical. And we know that, and we thank the city manager Raymond and his team for trying to look for different savings. I think in the future, I know that there's a tight timeline crunch, but I think the earlier, the more time we had to get in front of this, the more we can help our members make an educated guess. But the majority of our membership felt they felt confident in their decision, and at this time they've elected to stay with the CalPERS Medical. And as the board, they cannot override what the membership chooses. They have to follow the direction of the membership, and so we have to respect that. And we ask the city council to accept that decision. But we'll continue to work with the city manager and his team to look for possible savings and opportunities, because at the end of the day, we built a good relationship with the city, and we can work together through any problems that we face in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else wishing to speak? Do you see any other raise hand icons?
They weren't showing up on mine, but I think maybe I can speak if it's okay. I'm going to take off my deputy city clerk cap and put on my president of the General Managers Association cap at this point and give public comment, if that's okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
and I'll let you start the clock for yourself.
It'll be very brief. I did want to comment on the amount of effort and commend HR and Keenan in particular to avail themselves to give our members all the time and attention that they needed in order to answer any and all questions that were coming up. It was a relatively tight time constraint to evaluate all of the information, and everybody understood what needed to happen. However, the amount of effort that HR and Keenan and our members and our board in particular took in order to alleviate any and all concerns from our members made it so that everyone was able to make an informed decision. So I did want to comment on the fact that out of all of our members, there were only 2 people that were vocal about making it known that they would be paying a little bit more on the transition. However, it probably would happen also with PERS. There was only one other person aside from that basically said, I just know I pay for the most expensive one. I expect to pay more anyway. So I'm going to vote with whatever the membership wants. But at this point, we see the value in transferring. We see the value in our membership to having more options for our members. And we just at this point wanted to thank the board, our membership for being available, and specifically HR and Keenan for their availability to make this happen for us.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that you see on the screen before I close public comment again?
I don't see any. Adam, do you?
I do not see any more
Okay, no,
public
we're
comment.
good.
Okay, thank you. Then I will close that and bring it back to Mr. Raymond.
Good morning, everyone. Marie's on the call. If we could unmute her as well, we'll have her explain some of the details. But just for a quick brief history, the city since 2019 has passed tentative agreements and MOUs and side letters with our employee groups where we've all agreed to sit down and look at salaries and benefits, but also medical costs as well. One of the things we've noted of late, facing CalPERS potential rate increases that are going to average between 9 and 11% from last year to this year. has become a norm in the industry over the last 4 to 5 years. We've seen some pretty significant increases. The process in which to pull out of CalPERS is dictated by CalPERS. It's a 60-day window. It's tight. When we went through this process in 2020, the employee groups brought up some very significant concerns about the transfer, largely which included a loss of certain doctors in their in coverage and specialists. And so medical being a very personal thing to each individual person, the city took those concerns and went back to the table. It's taken us a couple of years, and we came back, provided a like for like plans. As you heard from public testimony earlier, there are savings for the same plans across the board. In some cases, in public safety, for example, in sworn, the overall savings for that group would have been about $16,000 a year that they would have achieved for the same exact plans. The feedback we got is after look, they thought the risk wasn't worth it. We don't have any specific details at this time. And as Asfami mentioned, there were some savings. They weren't as significant. The reason why staff feel strongly to recommend and are appreciative of the groups that it will pull out of CalPERS is that we look at this as a 7 to 10 year process where we know starting at a lower base, historically, they've had lower cost increases. We can go back and look at our experience and go back every year where CalPERS it is, you get what you get. And you don't have any say in this specific case. Should the need arise, we can make individual plan changes based on employees' expectations and based on their experiences, including with their doctors and what's in network or not. Medical coverage is a lot like your cable channels nowadays. Sometimes channels come and go. We'd like the opportunity to be able to bring some of those channels back in for employees. We don't have that under CalPERS, but we will into this new area. Before I turn it over to Marie really quick, just a big thank you. It's a ton of time. The 60-day window is tight. CalPERS does that on purpose to make it difficult for employees or cities to pull out. It's done on purpose. So we look forward to working with the employee groups that are going to make this choice. And we honestly feel that other employee groups will follow when they understand that they're actually better plans for a little less money. So with that, I'll turn it over to Marie, if you wouldn't mind walking over the resolution and the recommended actions to the City Council.
Hi, Marie, go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, Mayor and members of the City Council. So just to give a little bit of background of what has occurred over the last 60 days, CalPERS published their rates on July 12th and gave us 60 days to basically make a decision if we wanted to pull out or not. There's some comments about the 60-day time frame, and we completely understand. We did a lot of work and research to do comparisons, and we really evaluated all the plans before even rolling it out to our employees to make sure that we could answer any questions. We went so far as to answer personal emails from employees and double check all their providers against the plans that are being offered. We even had an outside expert in insurance review our plans who has no skin in the game whatsoever and provide some input. And he even said that the plans were very good plans for us to move to. Some of the things that the city can do that will help control our premiums in the future will be implementing wellness programs that promote mental health, emotional, and physical health throughout the year. And then not only that, though, being in a pool, we're underwritten on our own experience, but we have the benefit of spreading the risk over a larger pool. With that in mind, the healthier our employees are, the cheaper our rates and the more control over future increases that we have. We'll have the ability to provide plans that have a higher copay, but a lower premium for those employees who are still looking to have more affordable plans, but don't utilize the doctor very often. So we recognize that while some employees may see a slight increase, our ability to provide more plans that they can choose from as far as accessibility will be available. And if the plans don't work throughout the year, we even have the ability to go in and modify those plans in the middle of a year, whereas with CalPERS, we're just stuck with whatever plan that they give us. So during open enrollment, if employee selects and they don't like it in the middle of the year, they're just stuck. Whereas here, it's more of a personalized touch, and we can go in and make some adjustments for our employees. We also looked at significant historical trends over the past few years, 8 years to be exact. CalPERS has gone up and down, double digits, negative increases, whereas FDIC has more lower incremental increases over a year to be more stable. And then that way we can plan for the future and our employees can plan for the future as well. So the resolution before you is written by CalPERS. They tell us not to modify anything but the resolution number itself and the date. And all it says is that we intend to terminate our participation with their medical plans under the Public Employees Medical and Hospital Care Act, also known as PEMCA. Lastly, just to be clear, the city makes no money on breaking away from CalPERS. All premiums are passed through to our employees. We're just trying to make sure that we control those costs and provide the most bang for their buck for all our employees. And we also have Keenan on the line as well if you have any specific questions. And that concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Anything further you wanted to share, Mr. Raymond?
Just for clarity, the groups that we're proposing to break away are the City Council, the executives, and the Glendora Management Association. The Police Officer Association, the Police Management Association, and ASFME would not be part of this resolution.
Thank you. All right, I'll bring it back to the council for questions or comments. Councilmember Alawas.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Marie, and your team for all the hard work. I know that we were briefed the other night on this, and we've been working on this for the last 2 years. And I would like to have seen the whole city go this direction, and we would have had a lower base point if we did this 2 years ago. But it is what it is, and I'm thankful for the groups that came by and through. Can you articulate what the rate savings range would have been for, or is for, the folks that are going to be changing, and what it could have been like for ASFME and POA and PMA?
Megan, can you help me out on that?
Could have been made.
Megan Gardner's on the line. She's our Keenan broker.
There we go. My apologies. I had trouble unmuting myself there. Yeah, sure. We provided rates on a slice basis for several of the groups. PMA, POA would have seen a reduction individually of about 3.2% overall. And that included the actives as well as total overall for early retirees and Medicare retirees as well. So we did a slice look for them, and then the other slice look we looked at was for the rest of the groups coming out. We did not have a particular slice for ASME in particular, but the underwriting that was done meant that the rates would remain the same for the rest of the groups individually or as a whole. They did hold those rates, and bear with me, I'm pulling up that look. I want to say it was, my apologies, my technology is not working today.
Megan, it's Adam. I would just quantify some of those savings as some of the larger plans, the Blue Shield, the Blue Cross, a conversion would save a couple $100 a month on average. Some of the smaller plans, which recently saw an increase of like 38% from CalPERS, would actually be a slight increase. And what we talked about earlier was employees plan to be able to modify into a different plan and achieve overall cost savings based on co-pays and Medicare and in-network and out-of-network. So one of the things that Megan and her staff provided when an employee went to them was a breakdown of their current plan and every single attribute that's there. And we're willing to look at claims history as well to ensure that the overall cost would be less too.
That's correct.
So as you're maybe looking for that, I was looking for the dollar amount, and thank you, Adam, for that. I think it was like between $2,000 to $4,000 a year, roughly.
Well, it depends on the individual. I think I mentioned my opening comments from the public safety group, which has their own rates for sworn staff. The totality of savings this year would be in the 15 to 20,000 range in total, based on what they selected as their plan last year. So open enrollment starts soon.
So I don't know who wants this question, but let's say hypothetically we make the change and we overlooked something, and there was something in there that we overlooked. We talked about this the other day about chiropractic and acupuncture and things like that. If we overlook that, can we go back after the fact and fix something?
Yeah, as Marie mentioned, we can make changes to some of these plans midstream if we had to, but Megan and her staff did a pretty great job going through. There was a comment that you mentioned that came up about chiropractic, and it turns out it was included in the plans that we had too. It's a separate rider on some of the plans, and it's inclusive of the rates that were in there depending on your plan. So
Right.
a lot more flexibility this way around than with CalPERS, but that's CalPERS in general.
Yeah.
I can't see on here who else is on the Zoom. Is Luis still on there? Yes. Is it possible that we can get him on here? I'd like to ask a few more questions of really what the issues may have been through his membership.
Well, public comments concluded.
Right, but
But
if
that-
I can
that-
ask
that-
the mayor if she would allow it.
I don't, if he is here to, yeah, if he's here to speak on behalf of his group in that sense, but
He was
usually,
earlier.
yeah, usually we don't go to the public comment folks, but if you just have one question to ask him.
Yeah.
And if he's willing to answer.
Hi, Luis. Could you maybe sum up what some of the more concerns were with the group? You talked briefly about that, but what were the main concerns of leaving CalPERS?
In looking at what's transpired over the last couple of weeks, what I really think I think most of the members, I think a lot of the people who do have maybe 20%, 30% new staff that wasn't here, 2 years ago. But most of the members, I think part of what the experience was from the past, I think that's what was that helped them, or whatever, the negative aspects of what Adam spoke about, the prior attempt. I think that was probably still on their mind, but I just think that most of them just, did their own analysis. They didn't, I don't think, they didn't sit down and take the time and go back and forth with Megan and her group to discuss like for likes, like some of the other groups did. But I just think that our members felt that they had enough information based on the past experience, and maybe 6 months from now, we'll be saying this was a lost opportunity for us, right? For our membership, and maybe taking the time to actually have every employee contact Megan and do that like for like analysis. Maybe that would have changed, but the majority of our membership, like I said, 70% of them felt comfortable with their decision that staying put for now was the best decision to make. So I really can't point to, it was going to cost more, but some of them felt that the introductory price was going to be lower in the first year, and then that, they would be locked in for this, for the 5-year period before they could go back to CalPERS, and they just didn't want to take that risk. They didn't want to take that risk and that chance with their medical, and so that's why 70% of them decided that it's best to stay put for now.
Thank you, Luis. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
One last question for Marie. Marie, when we, this was brought up before, but when we make the switch and we have our pricing schedule that we have, there's no guarantees for the future. It's no guarantees when we go to Keenan, and there's no guarantees also with CalPERS, correct?
Correct. We don't know what rates will do with CalPERS. And as you can see, just from 22 to 23, we saw plans increase from 9% as high as 31%. But when I look at the trends over FDAC, they're much lower. I think the highest over the year was about a 7% increase, and that's right before COVID happened. And then not only that, though, last year, FDAC published their annual report for 2021, and they really touted holding prices at about a 1.5% increase for their Blue Shield plans, which is where a lot of our employees would be enrolled in. And I'd also just like to make a quick point too, because this is really important, that we have a large population of our employees that opt out of medical. And so just for the AFSCME group alone, we have about 21 members out of 85 that elect out of medical. And we also have about 30 members who are on the Kaiser plan that wouldn't see any difference at all to their plans. And so I think statistically speaking, it's really important to understand where our employees are coming from. And this goes to the amount of research and effort that the city staff went into to help understand our employees and make sure that the same experience didn't occur 2 years ago and that they had all the information that they could get. Even our doors open and answering questions was a big help for it.
And so if these other bargaining groups want to come back and avail themselves of this opportunity, they'll have to wait a whole year, correct?
Correct. And there's no guarantee that we'll know what the plans look like for them to come in next year either. So we would be relegated to that 60-day window once again, trying to do like for like plans and making sure that the crossover would occur as such.
Thank you, Marie. You and your team did an amazing job in such a short amount of time. Really, really impressed. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks. Mr. Thompson, Friedenthal, sorry. I was thinking Thompson and then.
Thank you, Mayor. I applaud the team for the research, the homework, the quick digestion of all this that we had to go through. I'm confident and encouraged that in the next couple of years that we keep monitoring this to affirm that the choice is right with the track record of what comes before us in the future, so we can know, is this a good measure or not? I expect it will be, but it's always nice to have that confirmation. Other than that, no other questions. Thank you.
Mr. Thompson.
Madam Mayor, thank you. And I agree with everything that's been said. I want to say thank you to our team. You guys did a great job of trying to make sure that everybody knew what was going on. I know that healthcare is a sticky area to try to navigate. And I know that I spent about an hour with you personally talking about this. And so I just want to say thank you to each one of you. And I think that, Adam said it right. He made a lot of the points that I would make. And I would just hope that we all accept the fact that change is very, very hard. And this change especially is very hard. But I would hope that the groups that have chosen to, stand down would evaluate, would continue to explore this with our team. As has been said, the door is open. And although the time frame to make this move is now gone, there's another year, and I would hope that they would take a look at this and see really a lot of the win-win that it has for everybody. But again, thank you to our entire team, and I do think that it's a very wise choice. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thanks, Karen. I was concerned about the rush on having to make these decisions as well, but after taking a look at it, I understand that that's just the way it works. And so when we have to evaluate this again next year or the year after, we're going to be under those same time constraints. And so staff's not going to be able to put information together except for after when PERS makes their announcement of rates, and then there's going to be 60 days to make a decision. So unfortunately, it is what it is. But after taking a look at it, I understand completely, and I appreciate the work done by our broker, and staff did a great job putting this together in a short time frame. And hopefully others will see the savings in the future. But I think it's important to note that, especially for the taxpayers, this really doesn't affect taxpayers or city finances at all. It's strictly savings to the employees. So I don't want anybody thinking because the employees, some of them chose not to do this, there's an additional cost to the taxpayers. It really is strictly savings to our employees. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Raymond, Marie, and all of her team that put all of the hours in. Thank you, Keenan. And thank you to the employees that spent time reviewing this and considering the options. And with that, I will entertain a motion.
I move to adopt the resolution.
I'll second.
Actually, Madam Mayor, I think to make it clear and given how persnickety PERS can be, it should be a motion to adopt resolutions CC 22-51, -52, and -53.
I'm sure that's what Mr. Alawas meant.
So moved.
Thank you. That is a motion. I'll open up the vote so you can use the voting client.
Before we go there, just to be clear, I'm seeing 4 resolutions.
3.
I see 3.
There's
Okay.
3.
CC 2022-51, -52, and -53.
Okay. Good, thank you.
I think
gonna
what you're
take that as
seeing
one
was the
vote.
review of last time.
That-
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking at.
Yes. Okay, so that is a motion by Councilmember Alawas, a second by Councilmember Friedendahl. I will open up the vote and do a roll call. Councilmember Alawas.
Yes.
Councilmember Thompson,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedendahl,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Boyer.
Yes.
And Mayor Davis.
Yes.
And that carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, any closing comments from anyone before we adjourn? Okay, then we stand adjourned at 9:29 a.m. Thank you again, everyone, and have a good day.